All right, introduce people. It's
So
live.
are
We're
we
live. Yes.
Yes, we're live. And so far, we don't have anybody in the chat. So when we start getting people in the chat, I'll introduce everybody. But I mean, we will have people watching this.
Sorry. There's
Yeah,
two people.
turn that down. Okay, all right. We got a couple people here, so we're going to go ahead and start introducing. We'll have people watching this after it goes live, or after it goes up. After the live, I think it takes like 12 hours for the live chat to show up, that kind of thing. So
we'll jump in face first, and
yep, we'll start at the top here at the people we see on the top, and we'll go down. And we already got a few people, so very cool.
We didn't mean it, Green Stick Cottage.
Yeah, at the time I didn't see anybody in here. Okay, so let's start. And first to my right is Jim from Jim Reads Too Slow. We got a great YouTube channel that we enjoy. We've actually been there since the first video, and we enjoy your channel, Jim. We got Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads. Greg's got an awesome channel too. I don't remember when I discovered your channel, Greg, but I think it was right after you started. And we really enjoy your videos. They're very well done. Chris from Hooked on Books with Chris, who we met, Chris, I think just a couple weeks after you started your channel, or maybe a month after you started your channel.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after I started, actually.
Yeah. And you were Chris is in Australia, if you can't tell by the accent, and Chris has got a great channel. He reads a lot of horror and a lot of thrillers, fantasy. Chris
classics as well, so branched out a bit.
Yeah, and actually, we're all pretty eclectic with what we read. Nobody reads one thing except Becky.
Except for me.
Yeah.
And he's full of it. I don't care what anybody says.
And we have Angie from Literary Labors, and Angie talk about eclectic. Angie is a very eclectic reader. And you should add her on Instagram and look at some of the books that she puts up. I mean, they are very eclectic. You see a little of everything over there.
Yeah.
But everybody, you're here because you have great channels, and we appreciate all of you for joining our Horror Mayhem. This is going to be a Horror Mayhem
discussion.
We're going to discuss horror novels. We're going to discuss horror movies. Some, like I said, some people here don't have or have very little horror experience. And Jim, we'll start with you. Where are you in that spectrum where horror is concerned? What is your experience with it?
Not very extensive. I read some Poe in junior high school. I've seen some movies, but I haven't spent a lot of time reading horror. So I'm kind of, like I said in my video, I'm a noob.
I noticed you said that.
That's actually one of the reasons we wanted to have you on. I think that's pretty cool. Actually,
it's going to be fun to see what you think of hardcore horror short stories.
Well, they don't have to be hardcore horror. I don't know what Jim. Well, yeah, I do know what Jim has picked to read. He had a great TBR.
I totally want Jim to read hardcore horror.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how I like what I've got picked out first.
Yeah.
Then maybe I'll move on.
That's all we can ask.
Hey, Sean. I like. I hope he means me, and then he just saying, "Hey, Scott," and everybody else. But although I think
he's probably talking to Scott Danielson, because he don't like you.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm thinking too.
Nobody likes you.
So, Greg, what is your experience with horror?
I started reading horror in 6th grade when I discovered old H.P. Lovecraft paperbacks in my basement that belonged to either my brother or father. And I started to bring them to the required reading half hour, 15 minutes. And the teacher was not very happy with me bringing H.P. Lovecraft to read. But
I've got a similar story to you. Yeah, I've got a similar story to that, Greg.
Yeah,
so I'll tell you when it gets to me.
That kicked me off reading, and once I started getting into high school, I started reading some Stephen King and some other horror. And then I went to college, and my horror reading kind of dropped off after going to college. And it picked up again a lot in 2010 because there was the economic downturn. I decided I was going to try to write a horror novel. I was reading a lot of leisure horror paperbacks. I don't know if you all remember all those leisure horror paperbacks.
Yes, absolutely.
And I subscribed, and I was reading those fanatically, and I decided, I don't really like those paperbacks all that much. They weren't my style. So I sort of like up and down. Like I started out with a lot of horror, had a lot in 2010. I read a lot and dropped off again, and it's slowly picking back up. So
great. Okay. Angie, what is your experience with horror? Movies, books, whatever?
Well, with books, the first horror book I ever remember reading was in elementary school, probably first or second grade, and that was In a Dark, Dark Room, which was a collection of short stories compiled by Alvin Schwartz. They were amazing, amazing little stories, and the illustrations were just unbelievable. So I think that's kind of what led me on my horror path, although I'm not an extensive horror reader either. I read Mary Downing Hahn in grade school, then some Lois Duncan, and then I read a little bit of Stephen King, thanks to my brother, who was a couple years older than me and who was a horror reader. And so I read a couple of his short stories. And then, like Greg, I kind of moved away from horror at some point. And then it wasn't until I found out about BookTube in 2017 that I started to read horror again. But I don't read horror very often. I normally reserve it for October, Halloween-a-thon, and then just a little bit of horror sprinkled here and there throughout the year. So yeah, I consider myself a fairly new to horror as well.
Okay, very cool.
What, Chris?
Yeah, Chris.
Okay, Chris.
Chris, what is your experience with horror?
Well, experienced it from a very young age. I think I'll start with horror movies. I was exposed to those because my older brothers used to hire them from the video store and scare the shit out of me, basically. I can remember things like movies I'm never, ever going to watch again in my lifetime, things like Basket Case.
Basket Case.
The Madman, there was a few of those that scarred me for life. But
Basket Case will do it.
Yeah, with books in particular, though, I did cut my teeth on Stephen King. I remember when I was 15, I was a bit of a loner and fell into fiction as an escape. And I looked at the shelf in my local school library and discovered a copy of Christine, which I remember looking at it thinking, a possessed car, this is so cool. And that sparked a lifelong love affair with Stephen King's work. And then I caught the horror bug at that age and devoured all of Dean Koontz's earlier stuff as well. And, obviously to this day, I'm a mad Stephen King fan and I love Koontz's work. And like the others, I did drop off from horror for a little while because I spread myself really thin by taking up interests in other genres. So it's only the last couple of years I've really gotten into fantasy, and in the last 10 years I've been really into crime and thriller and that sort of thing. So when I can, occasionally I do get back to horror. So that's me.
All right, Becky, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Here, you want to do that? Because my finger gets in the way.
My experience with horror actually started when I was 4 years old. I vividly remember walking into the living room one night, and my father was sitting on the couch, and he was watching the movie Poltergeist. And I remember, I am 4 years old, and I remember it was that scene where the big white demon monster thing is standing in front of the kid's door in that movie. Scarred me for life. It scared me so bad. I thought I'd die.
College.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But when as I got older, I read like the Fear Street books by is it R.L. Stein? You read those?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, got same guy who wrote Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I read the Fear Street books, and I read, all those scary stories to tell in the dark, and I gained an absolute love of horror books. But it's really funny. I didn't cut my teeth on Stephen King. The first Stephen King book I read was in like senior year of high school, and it was Rose Madder. It's like one of the least scary Stephen King stories that he ever wrote.
Yeah.
It gets top marks for weirdness, though, that one.
Yeah.
It is stranger than snake suspenders. But oh, what's this?
Oh,
What am I saying?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You figured it out. Fun. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with all right. So yeah. But yeah, I didn't read another Stephen King novel till I was an adult after that. But I love horror books, and I think it's because they don't really scare me as a general rule. I'm always on the lookout for a horror book that will actually scare me. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And I want it to.
Are we sounding okay? Sometimes we fade out somewhat, so I just want to make sure we're sounding okay.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So my introduction to horror was Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and this is the story that is similar to Greg. I took Pet Sematary to school, and I took it in an attaché case that I had. That I kept my books and my homework and all that stuff in. I was 12 years old. So I took it to school and forgot that the Stephen King book was in there, because you have to remember I was raised in Christian school. So taking a Stephen King book to Christian school was not the greatest idea. So I took the book, I was reading it, I was about halfway through it, and then I went outside and realized what was in my bag. So I hid the bag outside beside a shed on the school property. And someone found it. The principal of the school actually was that either he found it or someone took it to him. And so they got in front of the whole school, held the book up, and they were like, who brought this to school?
Oh my God.
And so in front of everyone, I had to admit that I took that cemetery to a Christian school. And and so yeah, needless to say, I got detention. They called my parents. My parents already knew I was reading it. They didn't care. My dad, he would dictate the movies we watched, but not really the books we read. Because he was not a reader, and he wasn't about to poke his nose into a book to figure out what it was about. So yeah, so that's my experience. And since then, I've read a lot of horror: John Saul, Stephen King, Dean Koontz. I've read every early Dean Koontz novel. And I really enjoy those. I still enjoy horror. I don't read as much of it as I used to, because I've gotten into science fiction, I would say, is my top genre. But outside of that, yeah. But that's my experience with horror.
They usually start out with horror movies, I've noticed. I know it did for me.
Yeah. So with everyone in horror films, what is one horror film you really enjoy? We'll start with Jim.
That I enjoyed?
Yeah.
I guess I remember most clearly Poltergeist. I also watched Phantasm. That was that I watched shortly after I got out of high school.
Phantasm, you said?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, probably Poltergeist is the one that because I went with my girlfriend, now my wife, and some other friends. So there's a little more memory with that one. So yeah.
Okay.
Great choice.
I didn't see Phantasm until I married him.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy it. I've seen it 5 or 6 times. I enjoy Phantasm. I think it's a good movie. I enjoy Poltergeist. So, Greg, what about you? What is, I don't know, one of your favorites, I guess?
Well, it depends on what stage of life. Early on, there was the Saturday night creature feature that came on at 11 o'clock every night. This is way before This is before cable. This was just local TV. And
Okay.
they had all the old horror movies, the old black and white ones, and
Right.
I really enjoyed some of those, like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. When I was a kid, that was my monster.
Yeah, I loved it too.
And as I got older, I guess one of my old-time favorite is Reanimator.
Oh
I
yeah,
love Reanimator.
yeah.
This is Bella. She just came up to say hello.
Hi, Bella. Yeah, our little guy's asleep under Becky's chair here. So.
It would take the jaws of life to move him.
Yes, there was Reanimator. I'm trying to remember some of the old other ones that I saw. There was a big phase when Netflix was still sending out CDs. I was watching a lot.
Yeah.
Saw House of a Thousand Corpses, and the sequel to that, I'm forgetting the name, The Devil's Rejects.
Devil's Rejects, yes.
I can't watch those. They make me feel icky.
Yeah, Becky has trouble with disturbing content, and both of those, of course, have some disturbing.
Yeah, they do, and those would be my favorite. I haven't really watched a whole lot of horror movies recently. I just actually haven't watched a whole lot of movies recently, but
yeah, we're with you. Yeah,
maybe I can get some good clues in this month of May to pick some up.
Oh,
Someone just mentioned It Follows. Yeah, that's one of the ones that it's on my perpetual list to watch one day.
It's a really pretty recent, and it's actually one of the more disturbing movies I've seen in years.
But it's not disturbing in that it's gory like Reanimator, which I love Reanimator, and I think the gore, the movie wouldn't be the same without it.
It's over the top.
It is.
It's disturbing in that it's creepy as hell.
Yes,
that movie's creepy.
It's actually scary. Yeah.
And depends on where you saw. I saw it in a theater when it was unrated.
Oh wow, yeah.
And you had to go to a special theater out in Maryland because it wasn't allowed to play in normal movie theaters.
I could see that. I'm a fan of Jeffrey Combs. Just about anything he's ever done. He played, what was his name in that movie?
Herbert West.
Herbert West. Yeah, he played Herbert West in that movie. And it helps that he's really, really, really weird too.
Yeah.
Dude is weird.
You know, he's a Shakespearean trained actor, Jeffrey Combs. And so I find that interesting. And you can kind of tell his presence on the screen is huge. Like it never falters.
He has this really great diction.
Yeah, he's not necessarily the greatest actor, but he is always he's always the focal point if he's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
He chews up scenery.
He does. That's exactly the way to put it. So, Angie, what is one that you love, or one or two, whatever you want to do?
I plan to give 6.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. My Wi-Fi connection is always really bad, so I don't know if my connection is messing up, but hopefully you guys can hear me.
You sound great.
I'm gonna be lame.
Yeah.
Now I'm like Becky in that most horror books don't scare me, but movies really do. I am a really big chicken when it comes to horror movies. Even the slightest horror, I end up having to sleep with my lights on. So I don't watch as much horror as I would like. And I definitely cannot do I messaged you guys earlier, torture porn, anything gory, anything bloody, anything where people are just suffering in the horror movie. I cannot do that. I prefer anything that's like classic ghost or haunted house type of movies. Okay. And one of my favorites, one that I could watch over and over too, actually, is The Others. I know I don't even know if you guys would consider that one horror, but I
would.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like Urban Legends, the first movie. I have not seen the sequels, but the first one was just exactly what I love. Anything that's classic ghosts, urban legends, anything like that. I just love.
Did you like the movie What Lies Beneath?
You know, I have not seen that one.
You're not missing anything.
If you like your good classic horror or haunting movies, I think you'd like it. It's Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's got some creepy parts. It's loads of fun. It has atmosphere for days.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that I just watched, the most recent movie I watched was The Woman in Black, and I watched that one last year. And that's my kind of horror, not too scary, but scary enough that it's gonna make me jump.
You know, when you talk about The Woman in Black, I saw they turned it into a play.
Oh wow!
Oh, really?
Did not know about that.
It's a very interesting play because it's such a huge cast of characters. They have each person basically doing multiple roles. And it's a very interesting stage production.
We're going to add Sean Standfast real quick. Just give me a second. Keep talking.
Okay.
Or get Chris talking. Chris needs to talk.
Yeah. Look, I love Poltergeist. It's one of my favorites. And look, I like a lot of scary movie franchises. So I really like the Final Destination films. I like the Paranormal Activity films. And I like a lot of Stephen King adaptations as well. Misery is probably one of my favorites of all time that I can watch over and over. But if I was to pick one in particular, I'd have to go with Fright Night from 1985. That was a lot of fun. Chris Sarandon as the vampire, it was a brilliant performance. I just love it. I laugh out loud at some of the things he does, like the way he eats an apple because he's like a fruit bat sort of thing, and just how you it's a horror movie you don't have to take seriously. It's a lot of fun. And William Ragsdale, he's just funny in it, and it's a really good one. If I was to pick one out. I have to agree about Fright Night.
Chris Sarandon was genius in that movie.
Yeah,
he was incredible casting. For that part.
Yeah. What did you think about the sequel or the remake, Chris?
Well, the sequel was pretty good as well. I like the guy that ate the moths, and he'd say the name of the moth before he puts it in.
Yeah. Yeah, the remake wasn't terrible. I thought. I'm not a big. I'm not a big David Tennant fan though. I have a lot of trouble with his acting, and I know a lot of people.
He's an over-actor, I think, in some ways.
But you want to go with your favorite?
You guys are killing me, man. Hold on, just a second. I'm adding Sean real quick.
Okay.
There you
go,
go,
everybody.
Hey, Sean.
How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay. You feeling a lot better?
A little better, yeah. Last few days, I'm starting to feel a little better. So fingers crossed. But no, I just thought I'd jump in here because I think my sort of view of horror is slightly different than most people. So I thought just to give a sideways, view of things.
Absolutely. So Sean, what would be your go-to horror, what writer or book or whatever? Who is that? Who would be your favorite one? You would say?
I think it would be Poe. I do love the usual Dracula, Bram Stoker, but Poe is someone I've been slowly dipping into his stories my whole life because I don't want to read them all at once. I want something new to have. That's how much I like him.
Okay. And Angie, have you read Poe?
Yes, I read Poe in high school and in middle school, and he's definitely one of my favorite horror authors. I kind of thought it was a little I don't know. I don't hear very many people talk about Poe on BookTube, but I don't know if maybe I'm just not watching the right people. But I thought he was a little bit I don't know, I don't want to say out of style. I'm not really sure what I'm thinking of, but I didn't think he was really read very much within the horror community. But apparently he is.
Well, I think he's read quite a bit, but I think he's also read on the fringes of the horror community. You know, sort of by people who aren't horror fans. Most people have read some Poe at least. At least that's my experience, and I think, you know, because I mean, none of his stuff is really that subversive. Although some of his stuff, like the Black Cat, I love the Black Cat. I think that is a great story. It's not everybody's favorite, but I think it is definitely more violent and more disturbing than some of his stuff. And I really enjoy that story, the Black Cat.
Aloha, Marilyn.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
No. Sean,
It's
what
Sean's turn.
what would you say is one of your favorite horror films?
That's a little difficult, but I guess because silent would probably be Nosferatu. I think would jump there, and maybe Vampire from 1931, and I think it was Greg that was mentioning the Creature from Black Lagoon, like the Universal monster pictures. I love. I always go back to rewatch.
Yeah, we love those too. We there are some of them that are just bad.
Yeah,
some
but they're still fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're all fun, and I think they're all worth watching. We go back to the Wolfman a lot. Yeah, and I love Frankenstein.
Ooh, that's a good one right there.
And I love both.
Dr. Caligari. Yeah.
Oh God, I love that movie. That is so good.
But you see, like that's where I was going to get to. Just if I can just sort of interject the thing about horror. To me, things can be horrific, but to me, they're not horror. A horror to me has to have a supernatural element to it. A slasher film to me is not horror; it's horrific, but it's not horror. So that's where, like I was saying, I come at it from a little different angle, and that's where I kind of like. Not all Poe is that way either, but there's usually a supernatural. There can be a supernatural element to it, and that's where, like, Frankenstein to me is not horror; it's science fiction. Plain and simple, it's science fiction.
Gotcha.
It's not horror at all. There's horrific things that happen in it, but horrific things happen in life. You know, a book about a serial killer, I don't think is horror. I think it's just horrific.
Okay.
I like my horror with a supernatural element anyway, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, Becky does. And I do too. I guess my favorite horror film would be probably The Thing, the 1982 version of The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. John Carpenter, his early stuff is some of my favorite horror. I think it's very well done. I think The Thing is definitely science fiction first. But it has enough horror elements that I would consider it horror. Because I mean, it's got a lot.
I totally consider it horror because it's got animal killers.
Yeah.
They kill the dogs.
Yeah. It's got a lot of disturbing elements and things like that. And the story I read this last November during New World's November, and man, I loved it. I loved Who Goes There. Just an amazing science fiction story. I loved it a lot. But
did you get around to reading the original, like the first draft of it? Did you read it?
No.
Okay.
I sure didn't. I haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah.
Because all I had was the Who Goes There instead of the Frozen Hell copy. But I'll have to get Frozen Hell and read the entire thing. It's like, what, 30 pages longer?
Roughly, yeah. It's got a lot more sort of. It changes things. It's got a different feel to it. That's for sure.
Okay, yeah, I look forward to reading that.
Frozen Hell, that's a great title.
Yeah.
So my favorite horror movie is a toss up between two John Carpenter movies. It's The Fog and Prince of Darkness. I love them. I love them so much. But yeah, it's probably The Fog. It's got such a great cast.
It's got a great cast and it's got a lot of atmosphere. I think when it came out, it was actually kind of panned. But just like Halloween and movies like that, they've gathered more critical acclaim over the years. And I like both of those a lot.
Well, this is a really good transitional comment. That you consider the thing an alien cosmic horror. I agree with that. That's the thing about cosmic horror. So for Horror Mayhem, have you guys had any trouble picking for your TBRs?
I've got too much to pick from. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I've got other things I got to read that month because I'm a book 2 prize judge. So I got other things that I'm reading as well, and you got to fit those in. So it's good that they're short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's kind of what we go for the events that we do. We would like to stick with short things because number one, people are busy. Number two, we're just trying to maybe get a few people who have never read it or who aren't fans to maybe do something that is a little bit out of their comfort zone. And so far it's worked. I mean,
Jim.
Yeah. So I'm reading stuff like this right here. I'm going to pick some stories out of Served Cold. It's the YouTube the BookTube anthology, the HorrorTube anthology. This is edited by Steve Donahue, and it has some authors that are from, actually every author is from HorrorTube. So if anybody doesn't have this, you can get this for like, I think it's $10, or you can get it for $4 if you want it on Kindle. And they did another one called Local Haunts that we read last year and just loved.
Yeah, I desperately want there to be another story about drop bears.
Yeah, there probably won't be any drop bear stories in here, but
drop bears.
Yes, they are.
Ask Chris.
Yeah, Chris, do you know about drop bears there in Australia?
Not what? No, I'm not familiar with that term actually.
Okay, it's a cryptid.
Yeah, it's a cryptid, but they're sort of monstrous koalas.
Yeah, they're monstrous koalas that drop out of trees and kill people. And the story is a blast. It is so well done. It is gory, and
it's one of the few that actually creeped me out.
Yeah, but it was one of our favorite stories out of the book. But yeah, I didn't know if you'd heard of them or not, Chris. But they're an Australian cryptozoology construct. It's a lot of fun.
I know we have a lot of haunted houses down here in New South Wales in particular. So there's a few ghosts and things like that down here.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a dime a dozen up here.
Yeah. So what is the week that everyone or that you all are looking the most forward to?
For those who don't know, if anyone here doesn't know, because it's obviously very famous. Week one is going to be, for week one of Horror Mayhem, it's going to be supernatural beings, or what's the other one?
Creatures.
Week two is cosmic horror. Week three is
it gothic?
Gothic horror. Yes, thank you. I'm having the worst time. And week four is folklore horror. So, what everybody looking forward to?
Yeah.
I know.
I'm looking forward to folk horror. I'm looking forward to revisiting Thinner. You can't get much more folklore than that. Gypsy curses and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to week 4.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, for me, it's week 1. I was just trying to see if I could find. I can't find. There's 2 other. Like I got a early. Well, not early, but a vampire story that was written the same year as Bram Stoker's. It's a short novel, and I have another mummy, a mummy novel. So I'm really looking forward to dipping into some mummy stories that I haven't read before.
I'm definitely doing creatures. I have my killer flies.
Yes. Yes, I voted for that one.
Yeah, that's the one that won, and I'm sure it's gonna be very cheesy, but I love all those old killer animals on the loose. A lot of fun.
Yeah,
I've ordered another spider one that's just hasn't come in yet, so that might, if I have time that week.
I can't do it.
you know, Becky and I, we love snakes. We
No,
love
those-
snakes. Becky and I, we love snakes, but spiders make our skin crawl a little bit.
Scorpions, I'll clear a room.
Yeah,
You know, I have one on scorpions as well. That was on the list of books to read.
I think it was called Scorpions, wasn't it?
It was called Scorpion.
That's what
If
I
you
thought.
if you don't like scorpions, I don't recommend you watch Jackass Forever.
Oh, okay. We haven't seen it yet, so
I'm
Oh,
scared.
it's cringe-worthy. It's good but terrible. Oh my god.
yeah. All those Jackass movies are kind of like that. Jim, do you have a week that you're looking forward to the most?
I'm kind of looking forward to the cosmic horror, just from the standpoint of the Lovecraftian aspect of it. I know the Willows, the Harbor Master, Fishhead, some of those I'm really wanting to get into. Just some of the older, really old kind of stuff that even inspired Lovecraft.
Right. Yes. I you know, there is a lot of cosmic horror that I have not read. I do like Lovecraft. Although some of his stuff pisses me off a little bit because the guy could be just a blatant awful racist, and some of that stuff is hard to read.
It did creep into his stories. Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
Shadow over Innsmouth, I guess, is one that is really bad. And that was kind of,
I haven't read that one actually.
That was I guess he kind of drew on some of these earlier ones, and I would just be interested in seeing if it's in there too. You know, if maybe, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, anti-Semitism and all of that was widely in literature at that point. You know, but
well, it was accepted.
Yeah, I mean, it was accepted in a lot of ways, and I try to read things despite that. You know, maybe I'll just read it once, but I at least want to give something a chance, I guess. So, Angie, what week are you looking most forward to?
I'm looking forward to Supernatural. I've got several stories picked out. I decided to go with short stories, but there were a couple of I think they're independently published books that I found on Kindle that sound really interesting. The one that's giving me the most trouble is cosmic horror, because honestly, I have not read any cosmic horror. And I was thinking of maybe just sticking with H.P. Lovecraft. But then I found another book on Kindle, as a Kindle and an ebook, called Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. The subtitle is a cosmic horror novel or novella, but
we actually saw that last
about
night.
it was cosmic.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the story or anything, but yeah, we have seen that. We've seen that book.
What's the book called?
Dead Silence.
Dead Silence.
Yeah. I'll show you some of the stuff that I'm going to be reading besides that. I think what I'm looking most forward to is Gothic, because there are a whole lot of, we're being kind of broad with with the term, and I don't see any reason to try to be strict with people and things like that. You know, we're trying to bring people into horror, not push people out, and so there's no reason to be too strict. You know, cosmic, you know, that's why we say, even though it's not the classical definition, the classic definition of cosmic horror, I would still say, if you want to read some sci-fi horror because, you know, because that reminds you of the word cosmic, go for it. I have no problem with that. But here's what I'm going to be reading for week 1, and it's Carmilla. Really look forward to this story. Jim, are you reading this one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay. All right. This was written, Sean I'm right in saying this was written before Dracula, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the basis or part of the basis for Vampire. That was Dreyer, Carl Theodore Dreyer's first sound film. It was done at the same time as the Dracula film, so that's maybe what you're mixing up a little bit with.
Yeah. I love Vampire. Becky and I watched it once. She doesn't remember much about it. I thought it was very strange that it was a sound film, but it was almost semi-silent in a lot of stuff. It had a little sound, and I love that about it. I think it is a wonderful movie. Just love it. And I don't. Do you prefer the movie or the short or the short novel?
Me? You're asking,
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I like both. I haven't read the story for could be 45 years. So, but I've seen the film a few times since then. So and it's sort of loosely based on it. It's not really. There's really no. It's a slight connection, I would say, to it, but it was the basis of the film.
Okay. I wasn't sure how closely it was connected. This will be my first time reading it, so I'm really looking forward to Carmilla.
So just to sort of jump in real quick, I looked at that book, Dead Silence. What makes it horror or cosmic horror? It takes place in space.
Oh,
it's like Ghost Ship meets space, and I want to read it.
Okay.
I was just looking to see what it was about, and I'm here for it.
Cool.
I think it's The Shining meets Titanic is how it was described.
Yes.
That sounds cool. Okay.
Have you ever seen the movie Ghost Ship with Gabriel Byrne?
Yes.
It sounds like that in space, and I want to read it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I'm looking forward to week 1 because I love haunted house books and stories. I love them so much. I'm also really looking forward to the folklore week because it encompasses so many things. It really does. That being said,
look at that. Sean, that looks great.
Sean's got it going on.
Is that part of the British Library?
It is, yeah, but it's a standalone that they did, but they're all to do with sort of libraries or books. So ghosts in relation to books. So it's got the M.R. James in here, the Tractate Midoff, which is one of them, which is cool.
Yeah, I've got this right here. I just got this in the mail. It's called The Dark. Can you see it? Yes. The Dark Descent. And it's got some amazing stuff in it, and it's got a little M.R. James in it as well.
Is that edited by Hartwell? Is that Hartwell's?
Yep. David G. Hartwell. Yep. Yeah. He's got some excellent science fiction stuff as well. Excellent science fiction anthologies that he's edited. I really like Hartwell's stuff. It's all pretty good stuff. I mean, this goes from Flannery O'Connor to Stephen King, and actually well before that. This even has, let's see, it's got some Nathaniel Hawthorne, probably the oldest. It's got Sheridan Le Fanu in it, Fritz Leiber. It's got quite a bit of stuff by science fiction writers even. Yeah, it's got some Lovecraft and some Poe and Theodore Sturgeon. So I found this.
It's an excellent anthology.
This is.
Yeah.
Did I see this on your channel, Greg?
Yes, I have it on my. I have it.
Okay. I know I had seen it on at least 2 channels. I saw it on your channel and I saw it on Juan's channel as well, which is help me remember. I can't remember channel name.
Plagued by Visions.
Plagued by Visions.
I'm sorry.
Plagued by Visions.
Plagued by Visions. Thank you. I'm really blanking on channel names tonight for some reason.
That's why I let him introduce everybody because I can't seem to do it.
But yeah,
My brain doesn't work.
this just looked great to me, and I saw it on the two channels, and I thought this would be great to pick up. It also has Algernon Blackwood, Ambrose Bierce. I mean, just some classics, and so I'm looking forward to this one.
Is that the one that has a rose for Emily in it?
Yeah, it has A Rose for Emily, by who's the author?
Faulkner.
Faulkner. Thank you. It's a story I love, but I've already read it, so I'm not going to read it for. But I mean, it's Southern Gothic, and I think it's just a great story.
I'd like to get my hands on a good Irish myths horror books. I like changeling stories. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
And they're somewhat creepy. You know, interestingly enough, I'm not really looking forward to Cosmic Week.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, and it's going to be a lot of H.P. Lovecraft read that week.
A whole lot of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, I'm going to do Lovecraft because I've wanted to re-look at Lovecraft for like 30, 40 years because I haven't read him since then, and I figured this is a good excuse because otherwise I'll just probably keep pushing it aside. So I figured it's a good excuse to do it.
Yeah, I know Steve Donahue. He said, "I'm sorry. Go ahead."
No, I was just telling Chris. Chris got a note that he's saying goodbye to everybody.
Oh yeah,
He dropped off.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Chris.
Hardly let him get a word in edgewise.
There's enough people here that it's a constant conversation, though. And another thing that I've planned on doing, I don't know if anybody else has, but I'm actually mostly going to concentrate on independent stuff. So authors who do not have a lot of readers, things like that. And we're part of a Facebook group called Books of Horror. And there are a lot of independent horror authors in there. And I put a call out. I was like, who in here is an author? And let them know about the event that we're having. And if they would like to be interviewed or anything like that. So we've got 4 interviews planned, possibly 5. Sean, I think we're going to do an interview with you that month because I don't know how many people here know Sean's got a great book of poetry out that is dark poetry, and we love it. It's a great book. And Sean, are you going to be able to do that interview or?
Hopefully, yeah. Did you have a date for it? Well, we could talk about that later. I hope I should be able to.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be great. We definitely look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing author interviews with five authors that month, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, there it is. There's Sean's book. I've actually got the Kindle version. There is some great poetry in that. I mean, it just Sean, it tells a story, and that's one thing that I love. That's the kind of poetry I love to read.
Thanks.
Yeah, something I really I love to read poetry, but I'm not a big fan of stuff like John Donne and John Milton and that kind of stuff. I'm more of a fan of the modern-ish poetry.
Milton sucks, the big one.
Yeah, Becky hates John Milton.
I hate John Milton so bad. Okay.
But yeah, I would definitely even recommend reading dark poetry. It's great.
Yeah, it's actually a really good idea for that.
It is.
That month.
It's
I was
great
going
to
to say
read.
that time of the month, but that didn't come across right. Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She said, Green was saying, you're going to try Lovecraft for the first time. I wonder how true that's going to be for a lot of people who are reading Lovecraft. I
think a lot of people are going to be reading Lovecraft for the first time. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of. And Angie, are you going to do any Lovecraft?
Yeah, I said I was going to try to. I actually have an anthology somewhere of Lovecraft stories, so I figured I would pick something up and see how I enjoy it. I'm not sure though if I should, if it really matters what I read. I was thinking of reading in his. I was thinking of reading the first short story he ever published, but I wasn't sure how accessible that would be for a person who's new to Lovecraft, or if I should go with something that's more popular.
I would
So
go
if
for a
anybody has
later
any
one.
recommendations.
You can probably find
my-
everything he ever wrote online somewhere.
Yeah.
I would bet.
I would recommend The Color Out of Space.
That's a good
That
one.
would be, yeah, that would be one that I would recommend. It's actually really accessible, really easy to read. Whereas something like actually The Call of Cthulhu is something I wouldn't recommend to a beginner to Lovecraft. I think that's something for maybe a little later.
So I'm thinking
Whisperer
about,
in the Darkness.
Whisper in the Darkness.
yeah, I'm thinking about
Whisperer.
reading a
Whisperer in the Darkness.
Okay.
yeah, I'm thinking about reading a Lovecraft short story during that week too. So Angie, if you want to pick one, I'll read it with you.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll check to see if my anthology has Whisper in the Darkness.
Yeah, Whisperer. Yeah.
Whisper. And what was the other one, Scott? The Colorado Space?
Yeah, The Color Out of Space. It's 100% standalone, I would say. So it's easier to it's easier just to read and not have to worry about reading anything else with it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'll let you know, Becky.
Okay, yeah, that'll be fun. If I have to read H.P. Lovecraft, I'd rather read it with a friend. That seems to always be the case with Lovecraft. They've read 2 or 3, hated one, like you.
Yeah. Well, the reason I guess the reason I say that about Call of Cthulhu is I'm just not really a fan of the story. Maybe that was just all it was.
Have I read it?
No.
I don't think I've read it.
No. But that may be all it is I just didn't prefer it.
I've seen some of the weird movies based on Lovecraft's stories.
Sean, do you know of some of the authors who were an inspiration to Lovecraft?
Not really. I don't know that much about Lovecraft. Like I say, I dabbled in his stuff like 35, 45 years ago, but I just, it never grabbed me so much that I wanted to continue. So I don't know much about him.
Arthur Machen and Arlington Blackwood are big ones.
Yeah, Blackwood.
Yeah, I like Blackwood.
Yeah, the Great God Pan fits in a lot of categories. You could fit cosmic horror and folk horror for the Great God Pan.
Somebody in the chat earlier said they were reading the Great God Pan.
I am not surprised.
Well,
Robert W. Chambers is another one that influenced Lovecraft.
With The King in Yellow, probably.
And Irvin S. Cobb. Those are some of the names that I came up with when I was doing a little research into what I wanted to read.
Okay. Yeah. So. That's kind of the reason you're all on here. You all seem to do research, and I like that. Nobody just jumps into something, and Sean's a bit of a historian where like science fiction and stuff is concerned. So
I'm just saying, I totally jump into things.
Yeah, Becky just jumped into things, but
face first.
I have to read about something most of the time before I just read it. I don't know why that is, but is anybody going to? I was just going to ask: is anybody going to watch the movies and read some books that have been made into movies? Maybe read the book and watch the film.
Well, I was thinking of doing that with Carmilla for the other one, and I haven't really thought, like, because I do the book to film, but I don't know what else that I could get into for the other ones. I suppose I could do what is it, Night of the Demon, which is M.R. James' story, but I don't know where that would fit in.
I did not know that. I love Night of the Demon.
I think it's called Night of the Demon. Yeah, 1950s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love it. Becky and I love that.
It's a great movie.
And I think it would have been even better had the studio not gotten involved and changed a couple of things. But we really love that movie. I wish they could release the version that was not touched by the studios.
That's a really good question for this.
What did they do to the movie? I mean, I remember seeing it a long time ago, but I don't remember, or
Well,
I don't know any changes.
do you remember the creature from the film?
Oh yeah.
That was actually added afterward, or either that or the studio said you have to have this in the film. I can't remember which that is. Sean, do you know?
No, I don't know the full details of that. I know there was changes, but I don't know what the details are.
Okay. Yeah, Hamilton Thompson. I would recommend 40 Days of Night by Steve Niles. I think that is a great horror graphic novel. I would also, let me see, recommend Basket Full of Heads by Joe Hill.
That is a great title.
Yeah, well, it's a
Great title.
it's a really cool story. Pretty gruesome and violent, but I mean, it's Joe Hill. Trying to think of some more. I really do like horror comics.
Mindy has a good recommendation there. Talking about Lock and Key series.
Oh yeah, the Lock and Key series is a great ghost story, great ghost series as well. But yeah, Joe Hill has done some really good stuff. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know some of M.R. James stories have been adapted to graphic novels.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've read it.
Yeah, I have one. I can see it right here. Volume 1. I don't know how many volumes there are, but I have M.R. James Volume 1 graphic novel.
Yeah, that was done, drawn by Alan Moore's daughter.
Really?
I think it's the one. I think it's the one. It's the only one that I know that's probably Volume 1. It came out about maybe 3 years ago.
Wow, I did not know that, and I didn't even know Alan Moore's daughter was involved in writing or anything, or drawing comics. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It says adapted by Leah Moore and John Repion.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I had no idea. That's something new to me. But yeah, yeah, I like M.R. James. I've actually listened to some of the M.R. James stuff that was narrated a few years ago. I was listening to it at work, and I thought this is just great. It's not your typical haunting stories and ghost stories and things like that. It's a little more talky, and I like that. I like his writing. I like the way that he writes things. He doesn't write a lot of dialogue. Kind of like a Lovecraft there. But M.R. James, was he late 19th century for the most part?
Yeah, and early 20th. He was at Cambridge. He was
he was a Victorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wrote his stuff every, like, he had a little gathering, and every Christmas he would sort of present and read one of his stories, and it's all antiquarian type characters. It's got to do with antiquarians, collectors, or researchers into books, and the BBC did a whole series over the years of sort of, what is it, ghosts at Christmas or something like that, and they would always do an M.R. James story for Christmas.
Okay, very cool. Greg, do you do graphic novels?
Every now and then, but not a whole lot.
Okay, I wasn't sure. What about you, Jim? Do you have any comic book or graphic novel experience, or
A little, yeah. Not enough to talk about, but I have read some.
Okay.
I've read a couple of horror graphic novels, but I can't remember what they were called.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Although I haven't read much graphic work in quite a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I used to get it off of Comixology, because I don't know if anybody out there reads them right now, but they're really damn expensive. Comic books and graphic novels are really, really expensive these days. One issue of a comic book is $4 at the cheapest now, and we're talking 21 pages. To me, that's just really, really too much money. And you can go get an anthology, a paperback anthology is $30. it's just a lot. And so I just can't do that anymore. So I just joined Comixology and read them on my tablet. That was just the way to do it for me.
What's The Haunting was that?
The Haunting by Robert Wise was 1960,
Okay.
I believe.
All right.
And it's great. I love The Haunting from 1960. Sean, that's one you enjoy as well, right?
Yeah, I don't like the book, but I like the film. And even better, if you want for Gothic, is Turn of the Screw and The Innocents.
Yeah. Yeah, Becky doesn't like the book The Haunting of Hill House either. She found it just slow and boring.
It was
well,
boring.
Yeah, as soon as I started it, it was like I was 3 pages in, and I'm going, I don't think I'm going to like this. It just her writing style just did not work for me. But
and by the time you get to the end of the book, you're just reading it out of spite.
Yeah, basically, yeah. but the film is really good. The film is really good.
That's curious. I'm picking a Shirley Jackson Gothic novel for my Gothic week.
Oh yeah, The Sundial. I've heard really good things about that, but I have not had a chance to read it.
I've read The Haunting of Hill House and We All Live in the Castle, so I decided I was just going to go for this one and see how well it goes.
David, that would definitely go with folklore. I don't think it'd fit anywhere else.
I like the lot of.
This is something that.
I'm sorry, Greg. I think
Did I get cut off? No.
I heard somebody say this is something that
you're pausing me a bit, guys.
I think Sean is.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say for Gothic, I was able to find this. It's Arthur Conan Doyle's Gothic Tales. It's a collection from the Oxford World Classics.
Oh wow, very cool.
It's all his Gothic. But I don't know how much is horror. I haven't read them all. I knew I had this, and it took me forever to find it. But there is a mummy story in here, The Ring of Thoth.
All right,
I know that.
Very cool.
So
all right, and you say Thoth the way I do. I like that. You hear it said about 5 different ways, and yeah,
we're all for Thoth.
Yeah, we're all for Thoth. But
well, can I share my Gothic story collections that I'm leaning towards?
Please do. Please do.
You guys can tell me if there's one that you recommend over the other. So I have Ray Russell, and somebody mentioned Ray Russell in their Horror MAYhem TBR. I wish I could remember who it was, but there's Horror Russell's Haunted Castles, the complete Gothic stories, and I have the Temple of Death by A.C. and R.H. Benson. So if anybody...
Okay. Though the Benson ones, I would say, are really good. The Benson ones are really good. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never read any of them.
No. Yeah, I haven't read any of those either. Now I know I've seen the Haunted Castle ones. Was it somebody that is here that had that on their TBR? Because I saw the same thing.
It was one of the first Horror MAYhem announcement videos that went up. I don't remember who it was, but after you guys uploaded yours, there were 2 others who uploaded their announcement /TBR. And I don't remember who it was, but I don't think it was anybody who's on here right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember something, but they had the hardcover special edition one that had. I remember seeing that somewhere because I've got that. They put out 6 books, and they all have the same introduction by Guillermo del Toro in it. And there was Shirley Jackson, I think. There was that one. And I forget who else, but somebody had the hardcover, and I can't remember who that was. It may have been Juan. Was it Juan? Maybe from Plagued by Visions.
It could have been.
Maybe.
If you're talking special editions, it's Michael K. Vaughan. He has all the special editions.
Yeah, well, it could have been, because it's sort of it was just it's out of print now, I think. Anyway, they did 6 hardcovers that had raised artwork on the front, and stained page edges, black stained ink edges.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I've got all 6, and I just can't get to them at the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we're the last ones getting the TBR up. But we just haven't had a lot of time to do any videos lately. But
Because I'm a slacker.
no, it's not. It's not because she's a slacker. It's because we're slackers.
Hey, okay, I'll accept that.
Here's another ghost one that should be kind of interesting. I found it by accident when I was showing another book. It's a guy who writes a ton of stuff on canals and railway, and this is called Sleep No More, and it's ghosts, railway, canal, and other stories of supernatural. So it's ghost stories on railways and canals. It's
I
really,
bet that's creepy.
That sounds
it's
great.
very thin, but I just thought I had to get this.
Well, yeah. But
And then I did get
trains lend themselves to horror stories.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, a couple things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just talking. Oh, there it is. I did get the Platform Edge one. I think did you download that as a Kindle, Becky?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you read any of it yet?
What
would you say? I'm sorry.
Have you read any of it yet?
No, not yet. I'm desperately trying to save it for May. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think I've mentioned before. Trains creep me out.
Two things that creep Becky out are trains and libraries.
And spiders.
And spiders.
Well, no.
You need this
don't
one
freak me
then.
out. Spiders scare the bejesus out of me. But no, it's trains, it's libraries, and it's animate, inanimate objects like moving statues. Oh no. Mm.
Yeah, we actually saw a movie. What was that movie called?
Was it the Shrine?
The Shrine. And it had a statue in it that scared Becky to death. Gave Becky nightmares.
It's the silliest thing. This girl is walking around this statue. It's a statue of like a demon or something. And the statue's just facing straight ahead. And she's walking around looking at it. And she stops and looks up at it. And the statue's looking at her. And I about clawed my way off the couch. It scared me so bad. I hate statues that move. There was what was that TV show that they made it off of was it The Haunting of Hill House? Yeah. The TV show they made a couple of years ago, The Haunting of Hill House. That show scared me.
I like the show. It was really well done.
There's this.
Have you seen the Doctor Who episodes? Like,
Weeping Angel.
The Weeping Angel. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got to her.
Yeah, that bothered me.
Don't blink.
Becky,
I never thought I'd get to this age and be terrified of statues, but here we are.
Auntie, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to ask Becky, why do trains creep her out? How did that start?
Simon R. Green. Simon R. Green. He's a British author who he writes a lot of urban fantasy, and he writes some urban horror as well. If anybody's here for it, he writes a great series called The Ghost Finders. And something about Simon R. Green, for some reason he finds trains incredibly creepy, and he writes them incredibly creepy. And I've been traumatized a couple of times by his books with trains. I don't know why, but it resonated with me for some reason.
Simon R. Green is talented. I don't like urban fantasy. I probably would like the Ghost Finders books because, Sean, they are based on, I cannot remember the name of the author's name or the character's name, but you read them for
the Carnacki. The Carnacki.
Yeah. They work for the Carnacki Institute.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I really like the Carnacki Ghost Finder.
Those are great. Those are great stories. I read a couple of them, the first two, and I had a great time with them. They're not. I was surprised at what he can get into a 20-page story.
Yeah,
very, very talented writer. But yeah, it's based on Carnacki, the Ghost Finder. And I've been hearing Becky talk about it for a few years now. She just loves that.
So, David, there's a scene in Don't Blink where the two main characters are talking to each other, and they come to the realization that they've looked away from the weeping angel and look back, and it's right there. I shrieked like a 12-year-old child. It scared Scott more than it did anything. Just me screaming.
Well, anytime I jump in a movie, it's because Becky jumps first. She's jumped and screamed in movie theaters and here at home.
I had a violent reaction to a scene in The Haunting of Hill House in the show. I mean, violent reaction.
Yeah, Greg, do you still watch a lot of horror films or like newer stuff?
Not a lot recently. It's been like over a year since I've actually watched a movie, but
okay.
Because what happens is if I'm at home and watching, my wife is not going to put up with me watching a horror movie, and we all, I'm retired and she works at home still, so I could go home and watch it on my iPad in the basement, and that's about it.
Oh, okay. I do watch some movies on my either on my laptop or on my tablet. The new tablet screens look great. To me, there's just no. Yeah. Exactly. There's just no reason. There's no reason to not watch them on those screens anymore, because you can get really close. Some of they're very high def these days, so why not? I mean, so sometimes the screen looks better than a television screen. So I don't mind watching movies on my tablet. Does anybody else do that?
I watch on this one. Well, I did have this. You got one of these 10-inch Kindles, I think.
Yeah.
But mine's broken because the port, the charging port is broken. So it's a slap that's useless.
Oh no!
No.
I wouldn't know how to go about changing those either.
Well, I know how to do it, or I could do it, but you need a soldering iron, you need equipment. So it's like, by the time you buy all that,
you may as well buy a tablet.
They're pretty cheap on Amazon. Like, it's subsidized, I think, because they sell you all their stuff on those tablets.
Yeah. Well, also too, I think they're cheaply made. They're very cheaply made. The quality of the Kindles are very, very low. The quality of the way they're made.
On the Fire ones?
They say that, and they make so many of them. They're probably all made in China. They're made somewhere really cheaply. And when a normal place may make 10,000 or 50,000, they'll probably make 1 million of them.
Yeah, I like mine, but I understand that if I were to drop it, it probably wouldn't last long or something. So I actually don't charge mine all that much either. I wait until it's almost done before I put the charging cable in. I lost one Kindle. I put it on the hood of the truck, and then we took off. And then the Kindle ended up, I guess, in the road somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it flew like a frisbee into the nearest set of woods.
Well, it's an Amazon Fire, I guess is what it is. But I do like the screen on it.
No, it's now called an Amazon Flyer.
Oh,
sorry.
The Amazon Discus.
Yeah. But I have a good time with mine. I haven't been using it quite as much lately. I'm reading Anna Karenina this month, and so that's a paper book, and that's a paper book that I can't find this translation on my tablet. It's by Joel Carmichael, so it's kind of a rare translation, and it's nowhere to be found.
Anna Karenina is a great horror story.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a horror to read.
Talking about sort of scary things, this is something that's weird. Maybe I'm a bit weird. Even as a kid, I never found horror films scary. They never scared me, and stories never scared me. However, saying that, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching on Prime a newer, I think it was made for TV, It was set, I think, in the 30s or possibly after Second World War. I can't remember which because it wasn't that good. But it was about a ghost of a child, possibly. And there was just a scene that was going on. The woman was stripping off the bed, and the sheet. She throws the sheet at the end of the bed, and all of a sudden it drapes over the shape of a little boy. And it was just done in such a way that your skin just crept a little bit, just moved to the side. and that's the only time out of like 50 years probably watching horror films that I ever felt that.
What was that? I've seen that movie. I know exactly what scene you're talking about. Yeah, that's a pretty creepy scene.
It is. Yeah, it's creepy because I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I want to know a movie or a book that actually got a creeped out reaction from any of you.
For me,
because
yeah. Go ahead, Becky.
I need to not feel alone.
One by M.R. James that really creeped me out was "Oh Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad." I don't know what it is about that story, but that gave me that perfect creeped out ghosts. There's something in the room with you. It's there.
Well, it's the sheets. I think it's the sheets that there's nothing there, but it's the sheets that it's as if something's underneath it.
All right, I have to read that now.
Creepy stories. When Darkness Loves Us. I don't remember the author, but it's a story of a woman who just got married, and she's pregnant, and she's investigating her husband's land, and he has this whole tomb that was open, a crypt, and she walks into the tomb, and there's a cave behind it. She walks into the cave, and the husband locks the door.
Oh, no.
And she goes in the cave and lives in total darkness for years and has to find creepy, slimy things in the water to eat and give birth.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Lordy. Wow. Yeah, the one that there's one book I can recall that really, really, truly scared me. It was a scene from The Shining. It's the topiary scene from that book. I had to put that book down.
Is that the first topiary scene or the second topiary?
The first topiary. It's the first topiary scene. It's the one where he's actually walking through and he notices that they're moving.
Yeah, because that's an interesting. Because I thought the first one was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
The topiary with Danny, it's just like you get to see a little boy terrified. But the second in the end, I don't want to give anyone a spoil, but I did not believe the end one. It's just like Ghost couldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree there. That first topiary scene, I thought I'd die. It scared me. I honestly I don't. Well, I do know why. It's because it's this inanimate object moving on its own. That scares me for some reason. I have no idea why.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever read a book that really scared me at all. I can't think of one.
Not that you've read books that disturb you.
Yeah, I've read books that disturb me by anything by Jack Ketchum, but then I'll tell you one thing that doesn't have any effect on me at all is religious horror of any kind. It just doesn't do anything for me, and I don't know if it would to most people. I'm not a religious person, and so maybe that has got a lot to do with it. It just doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah, he's one of the few people that was not impressed by The Exorcist at all.
Yeah, no. The Exorcist, I watched it for the first time when I was about 17 or so, and it just didn't do anything to me. It didn't do anything for me. I didn't find it scary at all. But I look at the time that it was made, and I totally understand why it did disturb people. It was something completely different than had ever been made, but just doesn't do anything to me at all, even though I know a whole lot of people love it.
David, I totally want to know what it was about Ghost Story that creeped you out. Because it was a well written story. It didn't scare me at all.
Yeah.
I like the film. I like the movie.
I've never seen the movie.
Yes, I love it. It's Frank Sinatra. Scott.
Fred Astaire.
Huh? Oh, Fred Astaire. I'm sorry. Yeah, Fred Astaire. I knew it was one of those.
He's a crooner.
Yeah. Well, no, Fred Astaire was a dancer, but
and a
still,
singer.
Oh,
he was a crooner too.
Okay. But yeah, I love the movie. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid, and I watched it probably 7 or 8 times. Really enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch
it started out with John Houseman telling a story, and yeah, I liked it.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do that at some point as a book to film, but I don't have either. So I have to wait until I get those. But I want to revisit both.
I have 3 copies. I'll send you a copy of Ghost Story, the book.
Okay. Well, I could get it on ebook, sure. So, send me just while I think of it. Send me the name of that translator for Anna Karenina on Foxer, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I would like to have it on my tab, but it's just easier to read. The little mass market paperback I'm reading, the print is tiny, and I'm having trouble with it. And my glasses don't help. I have to take my glasses off to read when I put because I'm very nearsighted. So I can read with the book up to my face, but as soon as I put my glasses on, I'm done.
Night, Scott. We're going to be wrapping up here in just a minute, but
yeah. We'll wrap it up. Does any?
That's a good point.
What was that?
He's saying he was just getting into ghost stories, and that's why it creeped him out. And I could see that.
Now, we probably made fools of ourselves, but we tried to get Peter Straub to do an interview. He wasn't having it, so.
Make fun, didn't make fools of ourselves. Hope springs eternal.
But I tried, and I tried to get Darcy Coates to do an interview. She wasn't going to do it either. But we did get some.
I don't think she even responded, did she?
No, we did get some horror authors, some independent horror authors, and we're very happy with who we got. For sure, we got some great stuff coming up. So
yeah,
we really look forward to May a lot. It's going to be a fun month.
Yeah.
So, does anybody have anything they would like to wrap up with?
Any parting shots?
Yeah.
No.
Thanks for this.
I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be fun. I just hope that my brain is back to normal to start reading it from this.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I haven't read much this week at all, or last week. We were house sitting and everything for somebody else, and so we had
I've been reading nonstop.
Yeah, Becky always reads nonstop. Doesn't really matter her mood.
I've been enjoying my alien romances. You know, I have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, romance does not lend itself to horror very often.
Well, what about your romance month?
Oh yeah. Yeah, in August, I believe we're going to be
September.
What about Cryptoid romance?
No, it was August.
No, it's September because September is our birthday.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What would you say, Greg?
Cryptoid romance.
I read a lot of cryptoid romance.
Well, she does read a lot of cryptoid.
But it's not really horrific.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't consider it horrific. I'm not really sure I'm into the horrific. Well, no, maybe I am. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far.
Yeah,
it might happen.
Well, you've got August. Are you still going to do the adventure for August?
September.
She wants to do it in September. I like the name for doing it in August.
Adventure. Sorry, adventure, not like adventure. September for the romance, but August for the adventure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Adventure in August or something like that, or Adventurous August, or let's do it. Yeah. We're gonna have some great events coming up.
Yay!
And this is going to be a lot of fun. And anybody who's in this is let me tell you, who is part of this is invited to be hosts to all the rest of them too. We're not gonna tell you can't do it. I mean, I think we would love to have everybody involved.
I expect to see all your faces for September.
I'm in.
Well, I think I'm busy in September.
You can't be busy the whole month of September, Sean.
I'll be busy. I'll be busy. I'll be busy.
I'll be dead that month. I'm sorry.
Who here reads romance at all? I do. Yeah, Angie does. Becky does.
You all suck.
Okay, but we got adventure coming up, and what about noir? The noir fiction too, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm excited about the noir fiction event, and I'm excited about June as well. June on the Range.
June on the Range.
Yeah, June on the Range. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited about June on the Range, and I think Michael K. Vaughan is going to do a very, very great event. I think Michael will do great with events. So.
That is so wrong. We should all take my love affair with alien romances seriously.
No. Oh, and alien. I don't think alien romance will be a will be a prompt.
You can bet your sweet bippy that sci-fi romance will. I'm just saying.
All righty, everybody. This was a blast. Thank you all.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me late.
Oh yeah, no problem.
We're glad you joined us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so we'll see everybody in May.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is probably the most excited we've been about any of our events, even though New Worlds November was just great. For February fantasy stories, I found out fantasy stories are not as good as science fiction stories. So we will definitely have fun with this, though. This is probably the most excited we've been about any of our events so far.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. We will talk to you all soon, and thank everybody for showing up. We had a blast.
Have a great evening, everyone.
All
Bye.
right.
You guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.